Page 46, El Matador, or I'd say the Matador, but you can say however you want. Now it looks like we got all kinds of stuff going on here. Good grief, look at all the eighth notes. Okay, we just use our approach to learning a new piece of music like we've done in all these videos, and we'll get through it, I hope. There's nothing new. There's plenty of reviewing of the accelerando and retardando and all. Okay, well, I'll talk about those as we go through the piece. It's 2 pages long, treble and bass clef, 3/4 time signature, and we got eighth notes, quarter notes, half notes, dotted half notes, and fermatas, of course. Got to stick in a few fermatas. The fermatas I do when I do the articulation. So the first 2 lines or so, the first 2 lines, I'm going to take both hands together. Because it's one hand to the other, it's easier to understand it if I take both hands together. So I want to start with measure 9. On the 3rd line, it's just the right hand. 3rd finger, you're here. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. Okay, and that's tied for 2 measures. And then measure 15, 1 and 2. The D minor chord. The idea. Now, measure 20. They threw you a curve. They do that. They changed the time signatures. You noticed it? It's 4/4 time, not 3/4 time. And they can do that too. You change the time signature anywhere in the piece, but it has to be at a bar line. You can't change the time signature in the middle of a bar, in the middle of a measure. It has to be at a measure line or bar line. See, in a clef sign, they can change the clef sign anywhere. You got to be on the lookout for those silly things, but here it's 4/4 time. Now when you change time signatures like this, most of the time there's going to be something common between the signatures, something that ties them together. In this piece, the common is the beat. How fast is a quarter note going? Because we went from 3/4 to 4/4, the bottom number stayed 4. So we're going to use that as our common. How fast is a quarter note going? And that's what you're going to do here. You're going to keep that beat the same, except in this measure, you're just counting to 4 instead of 3. This is an extra beat. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then you would go on. And then on measure 21, you're back to 3/4 time again. 1 and 2 and you're just doing this over and over. It looks ugly, but it really isn't much to it. And then the last 2 lines, I'll come back to that when I get the hands together. So left hand, starting with measure 9, broken chords. We have a D chord. It's a broken chord because we didn't play all the notes at the same time, therefore it's a broken chord. This is just another pattern. Rest, rest. Rest, rest. And you're moving here, but you got to rest to move. Until measure 12, 13 and 14. Here, and you reach down and then claps. You moved here with 1 finger at a time. Here and then here. So measure 13 is here, and then reach down and then come up. So you're coming back and forth here. You want to get to where you can do that without looking at the keyboard. You feel this going up or down 1 key. Put the hands together. Let's see what happens. Well, at the beginning, if you just take a look at the notes in each hand, you'll find it's a D minor chord, but it's a broken chord, 1 note at a time. It's an arpeggiated chord. It goes up all. Left hand comes. See, from the previous lesson, if you did that one, this should be a piece of cake. And then you get 1 beat rest, come back down here. Now it's a C chord. And then you get 1 beat rest, come back down here to the D minor chord on measure 5. And this goes up and down. So it's, again, measure 5 in rhythm. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. Now measure 9 here. Hold the dotted half note down. That's as hard as it gets, right there. Last couple measures, you're here. The left hand has a D and an A, but it has an 8V8 under the staff. Therefore, you go down. You have a rest, you got time, so it's down here. And connect this together. It's all slurred together. So you work out the notes and the rhythms, and then you find what's not so bad once you actually look at it and study it a little bit. And let's think about the articulation and the fermatas. We're connecting this at the beginning, slurred at it has an accent on the half note. Give it a little extra, just a little louder. Not a lot louder, just a little louder. And I'll measure 7 here. Lift up before you play the right, like taking a breath. And measure 9 is connect and then staccato. I'm hinging at the wrist here. So be careful on these because there might not be a staccato and you think it is, or it might be and you don't think it is. So just real slowly, I'll measure 9 here, staccato, and then no, connect it, staccato. Fermata, hold on to that a little longer, and then you go on. I don't like their fingering here. I'd like to change it. They're sticking to the beginner fingering for you. You see, going from measure 20 to 21, you in measure 20 with 4th finger, and they want 4th finger on 21. Yeah. What I would like to do here is, instead of coming up here, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to use 5th finger, and then when I get to the D, then I'm going to scrunch up and use thumb. Here. Now I'm in the fingering they want. And then I changed it. This is another way of changing hand positions. It's just scrunched up. But this way I don't have to use the same finger. Even though I'm lifting up, because it's the end of a slur, I could do that. I just think it's a poor fingering habit. So I prefer not to. I'm going to stay right where I'm at. But I'm still going to lift up. Recommend. Now, there's nothing wrong with the fingering in the book. It's just different fingering styles, and I don't like using same finger when I don't have to. I mean, sometimes you have to, but no. And then measure 21, you're here. No, I would connect all those 8th notes together until you get to the end of the line on the staccatos. So connect them. You connect it. There. Lift up with it just for the staccato. And then the fermata, hang on to that a little longer, and that a little longer, and then lift up and go on. Like so. And that's how I suggest you do the articulation. For dynamics, well, forte, at the beginning, there's no melody, it's all loud. That makes the accented note a very loud note. Now, measure 5, come down a little bit to moderately loud, and go up to loud and back down. Here, and then come down to moderately soft. See, so the introduction part, which was like the first 6 measures or so, is kind of on the loud side, and then when you start the piece, that's come down to moderately soft. And that's the melody. That means in measure 9, that left hand has to be soft in the background. At the bottom of the page, you're going to come up to moderately loud for measure 17, but don't get moderately loud until measure 17. So you measure 15, you're moderately soft, then come up a little bit. Now come up. So I did just a measure at a time. So at measure 15, I stayed moderately soft. Then Now come up to just a hair above it. Now moderately loud. The left hand's still soft in the background. And there's an RIT there. I'll come back to that when I get to the tempo. And now, going on, you're going to be soft. So you just lift up and soft. And then you get the hairpin to the end of the line, you get moderately loud. I do it like a measure at a time. So measure 21 is soft. Measure 22 is just a hair louder. Up to moderately soft. Now. So I'm gradually getting softer like a measure at a time. Because if you don't plan it out, you'll be too loud by measure 22. You'll be loud there. And so in measure 24, let that die away a little bit, and then match that. Try and match that. Let that die away a little bit. You got fermatas. You're hanging on to it. And then it's like it was at the beginning. This is like a coda. See, the first 6 measures or so was like an introduction. Well, this is like a coda. The piece was from like measure 7 through measure 24, so somewhere in there. And this is a coda. It's like the introduction. At the end, last 2 measures, it's loud with an accent. Okay, that makes that last chord very loud then because of the accent. Now, speed. Swiftly, I guess, because you're in a ring with a mad bull that wants to kill you, so you better move pretty quick, I guess. It has to be accurate. The 8th note's got to be even and controlled. So your swiftly will be different than mine or anybody else's. So you got to take it yours. If this is your swiftly, that's swiftly enough. Otherwise, somewhere in there, that would be my swiftly. Just because the eighth notes will slow it down a little bit. And the other stuff I want to speed it up a little bit, so make it accurate. Now on top of that, they've added pedal. Well, not nice. They're only pedaling the introduction and the coda, the last few bit. And we're lifting the pedal up so we can hear the rest. So at the beginning, it's loud, but I'm gonna say, go ahead and play the note first, or play the note and the pedal at the same time. Just lift the pedal with the hand so we get 1 beat rest and go on. There, measure 7. Lift it up with the hand so there's a little silence before we go on. And we don't pedal this part, we want to hear the staccatos. And then at measure 25 again, same like you were at the beginning. There, the last 2 measures. Lift the pedal up with the hands. We want to hear the staccato note. And I suggest on the last measure, pedal that measure. We want the overtones. Pedal that measure. So push the note down, or the pedal down with the note, and lift the pedal with the note. Now there's no fermata there. You're just holding it for 3 counts, but still pedal that. Now notice on measure 20, there's a retardando. You're going to slow down a little bit. Here, slow down, and with the fermata, hang on to that, okay? And then in the next line, you get the accelerando. Means gradually speed up. We don't know how much we're going to speed up. We're just going to gradually speed up. Whatever you can control. It's got to be accurate and controlled. And then the last measure there at measure 24, you retardado again. And fermata, yeah, so you slow back down. So that line over measure 21 is. And then measure 25 is the alt tempo, which means resume the tempo you were doing before you had changed it, which is what we were doing before. Like so, yeah. Again, these are all interpretive marks. They're telling you sort of how to interpret it. So you got to get into it, and you got to feel these. You feel the accelerando and the retardandos and the fermatas and stuff. You got to feel it eventually. As part of interpreting it, I have an urge or a feeling on the last little bit at the end. I tend to want to slow that down. I want to emphasize that. That's just the way I was interpreting it. Maybe next time I wouldn't feel that. I would play it differently. But it's how I felt it. That's how I feel or play it. Let's play this together very slowly to double check all the notes and rhythms. Now I can't speed up and slow down because the metronome won't. But I can do the staccatos and accents. So I'll give you 3 counts because we got 3 beats in a measure. Very slowly. 1 and ready and go. And 1. And 2 and rest and. 1 and 2 and rest and. And 2. And 3 and 1 and 2 and 2 and 3 and 2 and 3 and 3 and 1 and 1 and 3 and 4. Hold. 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 And 2 and rest and. And 2 and rest and. And 2 and.